All right. Good day, champions. This is Noble Mike Jamison dialed into you today for another episode of Game Time. I'm excited to come to you today. And if you haven't already done so, please do us a huge favor, subscribe to the channel so you can get updates when we publish new content, new material, whether it comes from myself or a guest speaker that we may have. And but today's topic is one of my favorite. This is a lesson that I learned probably 15 years ago, maybe even longer, by the way. And it comes from a series of philosophies that I'll be talking about as we progress through different episodes of our podcast. And so today's topic, which is focus on the power of completion, right? Focus on the power of completion is extremely powerful. Okay. And the reason it's extremely powerful is because you probably have noticed, whether it's personal experience or whether it's an observation of others, that most people are professional starters and amateur finishers. Notice that most people are professional starters and amateur finishers, meaning they start tons of things. They start tons of projects. They start all of these different things. And most of the time, they never finish. Most of the time, they never see those things through, right? And you end up with all of these loose ends, which we'll talk about here in a moment. And so today's lesson, as we talk about focusing on the power of completion, is very, very simple, right? When at the end of the day, I could close out this whole podcast by simply saying, finish what you start, right? I could literally close this podcast today by saying, finish what you start. Okay. But it's just not that simple, because what happens is that we have things that we do through habit, right? Habitually, that cause us to not complete things, right? So not completing things is actually a habit. Did you notice that? Like if you look at people who you've noticed that fall into that category of never finishing or never following through, they didn't just start that. They've been doing that for years, right? You can probably go back to grade school on whether or not they did their homework when it was time to do 2+2 and 3+3 and 4+4, right? They've made it a habit of not completing things and not finishing things, right? It's normally not anything new. It's a habit. So here's the concept I want to share with you on why it's so important that you focus on the power of completion as a fundamental principle in things you do. Now, it doesn't mean that a particular task will get completed in one day, 1 week, or 1 month. It just simply means that you are going to put a bookend on whatever it is you start, no matter of the duration that it takes. Right? That's the most important thing of this lesson today. So let me just kind of share with you the concept and give you a visual of what I mean as we start to dive into this concept of people being professional starters and amateur finishers. So I want you to think about this scenario. Imagine if today I got up and, perhaps it was the weekend, and I said, today I'm going to clean the garage, right? There's so much clutter in the garage. The garage has turned into a storage unit, right? Matter of fact, there's so many things in the garage that you can't even park the vehicles in there anymore, right? So the garage has turned into a storage unit. So today, this weekend, my task perhaps is to clean the garage. So I start out by doing so, right? I start out by, maybe moving a few items around. All right. I start out by kind of opening up a few boxes to see if the items in the box is really what I need to hold on to. Okay. And then I look in one particular box and it takes me down memory lane. And I start reminiscing on perhaps some of the photos, perhaps some of the items, some of the great times that the things that I'm noticing that's in this box take me back to some great memories. And the next thing you know, I'm an hour or perhaps 2 hours into this task of cleaning the garage. But because I've run out of time and it's time for me to go to, go to the grocery store to pick up, items for dinner, I don't get a chance to finish at this moment the task of cleaning the garage. So I go to the grocery store, I come back home, and I set the groceries on the counter. Of course, I'm going to be making dinner today. It's my day to cook for the family, no problem. And then I realized that I needed to do something else before dinner. I needed to, make a phone call my mom, check on my family, and see how people are doing. Check on my son, see how they're doing. And so as I'm going through my day, I'm starting all of these different initiatives. Follow me right here. I'm starting all of these different initiatives. And so in addition to spending my weekend cleaning the garage, taking the time to prepare dinner for the family, realizing that it's my weekend to wash the cars, this weekend. I also need to manicure the lawn this weekend. So I got all these different things, right? And so what happens in the mind mentally is that we're conscious and we're focused on the task at hand, right? The things that we have to do right now. Consciously, that's what we're focused on. But every single time, listen to what I'm saying closely. Every single time you do not finish a started task, your mind is forced to reflect on the past, on that which you haven't completed. So now the next day, instead of being focused and conscious and present on today, your mind is remembering the fact that you didn't finish cleaning the garage. So a portion of your present time consciously is spent reflecting in the past on an unfinished task. And as those reflections start to build up on multiple unfinished tasks, you end up spending the majority of your conscious time and focus on things that you have not completed. So therefore, if you were to put it in a percentile and say 100, if you were 100% focused on today and you were 100% present on today, you wouldn't be thinking about anything in the past because you've completed everything. But because you left these unfinished items, these unfinished tasks incomplete, you're focused in on today, in the present moment, you're not at 100% capacity of focus. You're at 90%, you're at 80%, you're at 70%, you're at 60%. So every unfinished task, every incomplete item is making your conscious mind reflect on the past. So those incomplete tasks, those incomplete items act as an anchor to your past. And you can't focus on what you need to do now to improve your finances, what you need to do now to improve your social life, what you need to do now to improve your career, right? You can't spend 100% of your time now consciously because you are focusing and reflecting on things that you haven't done and haven't completed. So most people are living in the past. And now they got anxiety because they got all the stuff that they were supposed to do that has built up over time because they simply failed to complete them. So if you were punctual and you were on point and you were finishing the things you start, there's no reason to think about the garage because you finished the garage already. There's no need to think about washing the car because you washed the car already. There's no need to think about manicuring the lawn because you've manicured the lawn already. So now you can spend your present moment in the moment, which is the most important thing, right? Because the only thing you have is now. And if you're not focused on getting better now, if you're not focused on the things that you need to do better now, then you're living in the past. In the past, you cannot change. And this is why focusing on the power of completion, there's that one simple principle can change your life. Can change your life because you can be 100% present. Imagine if you're sitting in a presentation or a training that you've paid for to get better. You're sitting on a conference call, listening to your coach or mentor that you've paid for to get better. But because you're not 100% present, because you got these anchors into your past of these incomplete items that you didn't finish, you're not really getting out of the moment what you should. You're not really getting out of the moment what you should. So if you just take this one little concept and say, you know what? If I can finish the task today, I'm going to finish the task today. Don't procrastinate. If I can't finish the task today, listen to me closely because this is going to help you. If I can't finish the task today I will make a daily discipline, a habit to make sure I'm on course to finish the task moving forward. So in other words, if I can finish it today, I finish it. Boom. No need to reflect in the past. If I can't finish it today, I got to make a daily discipline or a daily habit or a daily action item that pushes me closer towards completion. So I'm not constantly reflecting back on something that I didn't do. So every day I am checking off and making small steps towards completing that task, right? Because everything can't be done in a day, right? If you have to read a book, that's 1,000 pages, and it's, most people don't read 1,000 pages in a day. But if you read, 100 pages every day for 10 days, you got the book read, right? You got the book read. But if you start the book on day one and you don't create the action item and the daily discipline to keep on track, then you'll let 2 or 3 days go by. And next thing you know, you're sitting in the movie theater where you're supposed to be in the moment, enjoying time with your family, and that anchor into the past of that incomplete item pops in your head. Oh my gosh, I didn't get to read chapter 2 of the book. So now you're thinking about chapter 2 of the book and you're not paying attention to the movie that's in front of you, right? You're not 100% there. You're not 100% focused. However, if you have a daily discipline, an action item that says, hey, in order for me to stay on track to complete this book of 1,000 pages, and I read my 100 pages for today, then there's no need to reflect back because I successfully checked off a sub item of the action item that I'm looking to complete. It's just going to take 10 days. You follow what I'm saying? And so it's extremely important that you focus on the power of completion so you can be present as much as possible. You want to be 100% present 100% of the time. That's the target. It's going to be extremely difficult, but that's the target, is to be 100% present 100% of the time. Have you had a conversation with someone at dinner, at lunch, and you knew they were not there? Think about the time that you had a conversation with somebody and you're talking to them, so you think, and they're gazing off into, cyberspace. You see it in their face. They're not there. They're not there at all. They're not present. right? And so what value is that moment? What value is that experience if only one person is present in a conversation or a dialogue? So I want you to visualize what I'm talking about on why this is extremely important, right? So it's a simple concept. Focus on the power of completion. Most people are professional starters and amateur finishers. Don't be an amateur. Don't be an amateur. Be a professional finisher, right? By number one, completing the task that you start that day if possible. And if not possible, create a daily discipline or action item that you can check off to act as a milestone towards the end in mind, right? The end in mind. Simple concept. Listen, this is going to do wonders for you. All right. This will do wonders for you. And then the third step to that, I'm giving it's 3 steps to it. Number one, complete it in a day if you can. Number two, if you can't, create an action item and a daily discipline to support that task. Number three, in closing, is you delegate it, right? You delegate to someone who does the exact same thing that you do, right? So if I have these 3 things, right, 2 things that I need to do, if I know that I'm the best at doing number one, then I do number one, whether I can get it done in a day or a series of days. And if I have an item that I can delegate to someone who has the same philosophies and concepts, then I delegate and let them get it done, right? But the whole idea is that we want to always focus on completing things. So therefore, we can be as present as possible with 100% focus. 100% focus, right? So that's today's lesson. Hope you got value. Share with your friends and loved ones the importance of focusing on the power of completion so you can be opposite of what most people are, right? Most people are professional starters and amateur finishers. You want to be a professional finisher, right? Finish what you start so you can be present. Hey, it's been another episode of Game Time with your boy, Noble Mike Jamison. Thanks a lot for chiming in. Take care. Take charge.